What kind of flowers do you think you'd put on there?
What flowers would I put on Rory's grave?
Yeah.
A cauliflower.
Oh my god. Hello, welcome back. It is week 141 on Out on That Line podcast. I'm Jeff with my co-host Alex. As always, Alex, how you doing this week?
Throw down. It's a hillbilly hoedown, baby. I am, as our friends in Britain say, chuffed. Keen as a bean. I'm here and I'm ready. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I like your little mention of that song you sent me of every non-bro country fan thinks that sounds like, and that is a perfect representation. Trucks and beer, and I've got a Chevy in my Chrysler or something. Just some insanely accurate lyrics, and it sounds just as real and authentic as any of the stuff that it's supposed to mock.
I got a beer in my beer and a Chevy in my Ford.
just
Uh,
just a really wonderful experience, and something that I hope you all go and find, and maybe we'll provide that little link for you. And where might they see that little link there, Alex?
if I were a betting man, and I am, I frequently bet on myself, and it's a losing cause, but that's neither here nor there. We're not here to talk about our lives outside of this podcast, okay? We have created a universe, a small cosmic terrarium. It's sort of a cosmic gumbo, but we won't get into that. It's just this wonderful place where you can be with people who know you and know what you want. And we'll make you cozy. We'll wrap you in a warm blanket of familiarity. Think of this as a friendship simulator, if nothing else. We will always be there for you. But where is there? Oh, wait, I forgot. That's right. It's youtube.com/C/out on that line. Folks, it's not going to get any easier for you to sign up today. You subscribe, you turn notifications on, you leave a comment, you hammer the like button. I mean, it's not asking a ton. It's all right there. It's been dumbed on down for you. So bet not just on Out on That Line, but on you to win. Take it from a guy who knows and loses almost every time. But you won't at youtube.com/C/out on that line. Live your dreams.
that was really well done. I sprung that one on you. I was thinking this week I'm going to try to catch him, see if
He
he's
came
on his
right out of the
toes.
trees.
Yeah, and not only did you hit it, it was like I put it on a tee for you. So well done.
I appreciate that. Pressure makes diamonds. So
Yeah, that was as good as I think the conversation is going to be about the album that we're going to talk about this week. So unless you had any pressing issues you wanted to discuss, I was thinking we might hop right into this one.
hop like a little animated sparrow, hop right into it.
Yeah, Easter is coming right up, so consider us some little bunnies, and we're going to hop right into it here. And we're going to talk about the new Kacey Musgraves. You knew it was coming. The album is called Deeper Well. We've been talking about it, mentioning it. It's been in the ether for a while now. And I believe we have entered a new era of Kacey Musgraves with this one. So there's a big thing in music these days with eras of singers. Beyonce does it, Taylor Swift does it, Olivia Rodrigo does it, Miley Cyrus does it. Everybody does it. But this is going to be the latest, and I can't say I was that it feels like inauthentic of a swing for Kacey Musgraves to go to this kind of what they're calling, I think, barefoot era. But I'm very curious to hear what you think about this album, because I think we've generally aligned pretty well in the past on how we feel about her output.
Yes, and this is an album, as you say, we mentioned it a lot, and I frequently mentioned it with a lot of dread and apprehension because Starcrossed burned me. It burned my
Yeah.
ass. It left a scar. And really over time too, trying to go back to it, especially in preparation for this album, every single time it's just like golden hour, fucking star-crossed. And I wanted to see where this was going to sit in that pecking order. And at the risk of bearing the lead, I loved it.
Yeah,
I
I thought
fucking love this album.
this was a gave me very like Laurel Canyon vibes, you know, very much kind of made me think she was listening more to, you know, still classic music, but not so much classic country, more of like the Mamas and the Papas and kind of your classic folk music. Um, you know, I think she had a lot of that kind of cosmic kind of sound, but I don't know if I would really call a lot of it country. You know, I think she's wanted to branch out. Obviously, she did with Starcrossed. I think for both of us, that was a bit of a miss. You know, there are a few songs on that one I do like, but for the most part, I think it was a miss. It was very anticipated what was going to happen with this album because I think the overall sense though was like Kacey Musgraves stands loved Starcrossed. So I don't think they
Mhm.
had any like negative opinion about that one. I think it was just, you know, those of us few and far between though they may be, just kind of didn't get into that album. I still consider Golden Hour like one of the greatest albums of the last decade. It really is special. It shows that she's capable of writing some very special music. She showed that on her previous albums to that even as well. I think this is a such a good step in the right direction for Kacey Musgraves and kind of what her songwriting style is going to be. I thought this was a very like focused album that never felt stale in its message, I guess. And a lot of emotions. You know, she's never been afraid to kind of dig deep. I think the problem with Starcrossed is that she tried to be like very grandiose with the lyrics and describing, you know, using these really, really broad ranging topics to like try to describe these very like kind of more simple things. I think this goes the other way and uses very simple terms to describe these very complex feelings and emotions and kind of what you go through breakups and finding new love and that kind of stuff. I really think it's well done. I noticed she used the same songwriting team. I think it's the same songwriters on every single song on this album. So this was clearly like a focus, like sit down and put this all together. That if all of them had input on every single song, that's exactly why it sounds so streamlined and concise, kind of just all the way through.
This is the kind of music that her voice is built for and her sensibilities are built for because you have an album like the pivot from the country sound started on Same Trailer, Different Park. And then you got Golden Hour, and Golden Hour really kind of launched her. I consider it like a psychedelic pop album, but it's real easy on the like overabundance of pop, which was the pitfall of Starcrossed. It strayed so far into this like very, very fixed pop sound. And on top of that, you have the pressure of the Divorce album. Golden Hour, contrary to popular belief, people are like, oh, all poets are miserable and, writers are miserable alcoholics. And it's like, well, while that may be true, that's not what makes them great. It's Dan Harmon said once, it is so much easier and more pleasant to write about stuff you love than it is to write about shit you hate.
Mhm.
So an album like Golden Hour is born, and then an album like Starcrossed has to be like forged and just kind of like released into the world. Everyone's expecting you to come through with like this raw, pure emotion that I don't think that album adequately captured, in large part because of the sound. So then you get an album like this, and it's that sweet middle ground where it had a lot of the like quiet introspection of Golden Hour, of a lot of songs on there, but it had the kind of the depth of emotion that we needed from the Divorce album we got on the self-improvement album, on the post divorce relationship ending album. That's the glue that holds this thing together, is the end of her relationship with that other duder who she was with for quite a while after she got divorced
Mhm.
from Rustin Kelly. So this is the album about opening yourself up to love again and having it all fall apart. Your greatest fear comes true. And
Mhm.
it's guiding, like you said, this very Laurel Canyon, lush, like the first song, Cardinal, sounds like a Fleetwood Mac song.
Mhm.
Not quite, I don't want to like juice it too much, but the first thing I thought of, I was like, oh, this has kind of a like Fleetwood Mac vibe to it. And it is truly just the perfect amalgamation of the sound and the sentiment.
Yeah, I think there's such a sense of like questioning and longing and wondering on this whole album that the best parts of Golden Hour were that, was that kind of opening your mind up to the possibilities of other things, whether that be through, psychedelic means and usage, or just kind of sitting in kind of meditation and really just trying to get in touch with how you really feel about things. Cardinal is fantastic. The song on this album that I think just does such a phenomenal job of displaying like her songwriting is The Architect. I mean, like, she was known for Rainbow being, I mean, just an absolutely gorgeous song. And that was kind of like her real like stamp as a songwriter's songwriter song. And I think The Architect is something that stands right up at least that high. The way that she just there's always such a like tongue in cheek way that she puts together lyrics, even if it's the saddest thing you've ever heard. She still has like kind of that sense of humor about it, and it's really present throughout a ton of these songs, but The Architect I think is especially so. There's always, no matter how heavy the topic might be, she always provides like a lightness to what she's singing about. And when the lyrics and the music and everything matches up, she can really just fire on all cylinders. Like, and this is exactly why she's held in the esteem that she is, as far as country artists or pop artists, I guess, in general at this point.
There's this beautiful light quality to her voice that makes it like super duper vulnerable, which you need on something like this. And it's not the big glitzy pop production. It's perfectly and appropriately scaled back. And even though I feel like some of the songwriting did have a little bit of a wall up around it, I don't think she ever was anything less than candid about the things she was feeling and the idea she was putting out there. But some of the way it was written felt a little dulled down from some of the stuff she's done, particularly on Golden Hour. Like you said, Rainbow, there's songs on here that came close, but just kind of like shied away towards the end. And then you have songs that, like, when I first heard Deeper Well, I was like, ah, fuck,
Yeah.
god damn it. And then I listened to it in the context of the album, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a great song, and it's super duper vital to what's going on here,
Mhm.
carrying that theme through. And that, I think my criticism of it at the time was it's too on the nose. And then I realized, I'm like, well, it kind of had to be. Like, she's just speaking very plainly, like the second verse about, like, I used to wake and bake with a fucking gravity bong. She's a beast.
Yeah, that's
And
your day is going one way after that. Off
holy
the
shit,
rails
it's
for
not going to be
sure.
a long day. Yeah.
Yeah. You're taking some
Holy
naps.
shit. Yeah, you're taking a couple easy sleepies throughout that day. Um, so like we laugh about it, but there's this like profound sentiment in there where she's like, I'm getting rid of the habits that stand in my way and don't serve me anymore. And again, it's the twofold album, right? It's the post-divorce breakup worst case scenario album. It's also the personal growth album, and your mileage may vary with the woo-woo. Some of the stuff like the moon bath and the tarot and astrology kind of stuff, the goopy stuff, the goop core, your mileage may vary. However, it genuinely helped her. And I think shit like this, like crystal healing, crystal girlies, do your thing. You are not hurting anyone. Gwyneth Paltrow is hurting someone because she's selling like $200 jade vagina rocks that do nothing. But if you just are kind of into this stuff and you buy a nice little like onyx or a quartz or something and you lay with it to get your chakras unlocked or whatever crystals are supposed to do. You're not hurting anybody, especially not more than organized religion. And your thing isn't even a religion, it's just a way of life. So for me, the woo woo was actually on this like a welcome touch because I knew she meant every aspect of it, but wasn't being fucking insufferable about it. So I kind of
Yes.
love that touch to it. It felt very sincere.
Yeah, and I think the whole idea when you first hear "My Saturn has returned," that lyric, that was when I was just like, "Oh boy, okay, where where exactly are we headed with this music?" I was like, we could go a lot more star-crossed. We could get a lot more of that kind of thing, or this might mean that she's going into her just like 70s vibe era. And I think that's a lot more what we got. And I'm really, really glad because songs like Cardinal that you mentioned, The Architect, Heart of the Woods, fantastic. Jade Green, outside of this album, you'd be like, oh, that song is kind of weird, just like you're talking about with Deeper Well, but it's perfect on this album. It's that the mention of those, like you said, the woo woo, and she's talking about the crystals, she's talking about the rocks and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I don't think any of that stuff is legitimate or real or valid or anything. But if it works for you, then that's fine. And if it creates an album like this, then that's even better.
Yeah, I find like the taste of the woo woo when it's like used intelligently in here. Like it's not this whole thing isn't themed around Saturn Returns. It's one thing that came up. She's throwing out these little nuggets here and there, but the real prize, the bottom of the Cracker Jack box here. But there ain't no Coupe de Ville. Um, but no, that my real way into this album is certain songs like Too Good to Be True. Like the first time I heard it, I'm like, this is kind of like blatantly that and breathe, just breathe. Who's that? Like Anna
Mhm.
Nalick or something?
Yeah.
Like, and so beautiful when the boy smiles. And it's like the verses sound like doing the exact same thing. So at first I was like, oh fuck. But then when you really listen to what's going on in the song, it's just this idea. It's the most brutal aspect of this album where she's let love in again and it feels wonderful and it's healing her heart. And we have the dramatic irony of knowing that this doesn't work out. So she's experiencing like all like, please don't be too good to be true. Please be the one. And if for some reason I'm living in heaven right now or I'm living in a dream, please don't wake me, which we know a cold slap of sobering reality is fucking coming, which makes the song 10 times more heartbreaking.
Mhm.
It's really well executed songwriting. There's not too much weird production stuff going on. The lo-fi is really, really suited to her voice and what she's doing on this. You just get stuff like Moving Out is so candid and sad and brutal. But it's got these like weird synth flourishes to it, which shouldn't go, but she finds a way to incorporate that psychedelia to it a little
Mhm.
bit. Um, and it kind of reflects like the state of mind and the emotion you feel. Like this is such a brutally painful album to listen to. I am not ashamed to say I am a grown man and I cried at a couple of these songs.
Yeah, it was just a really well put together album. I think it worked. I don't know if I'd quite put it on the same level as Golden Hour, but it's pretty
No.
close for me as far as what she was able to accomplish with it. I think Golden Hour is just, if that ends up being the most special album she ever recorded, that's not a bad thing. That's because Same Trailer, Different Park is a fantastic album as well. Pageant Material, fantastic album. That was back when she was still like Country Casey. And then you had Golden Hour. Starcrossed was that's really the only kind of miss that she's ever had because this album was definitely a hit. And I'm absolutely going to say buy it. And I may have bought it already.
See, I would like to give it the official designation of buy it, but I don't know if I can because this album might be too fucking depressing to listen to ever again. And I mean that as a compliment. This is such a like nakedly honest album. It's got some like great hooks peppered in. some of it, a lot of this album is like moment to moment and flashes and fragments more than like it's interested in being super duper consistent as an album or even song to song, like an entire song. And that's not a dig. It makes the album more of a collage of kind of emotional honesty um, that comes across perfectly, but is just, again, the dramatic irony of it, where you know exactly how this relationship ends, and you have ostensibly been in the position where you've had, or you know, something close to this feeling of letting someone in again, and then it all falls apart. Brutal, relatable, beautiful, hopeful, hurting. Like it, there was a lot going on in this on an emotional level. But I do have to say, in addition to being almost beautiful, but almost too depressing to listen to ever again, I would just like to point out that my fucking eyes bugged out of my skull when I saw that there was a song titled Anime Eyes.
Yeah.
Because what have I been saying as much as I can since Starcross came out? Maybe don't do more of the weird Japanese stuff, Kacey. And she doubled down on this album with Anime Eyes. The chorus
Mhm.
vocals even do like that, like Japanese imperial, like Mikado thing.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da, like, holy shit. And the references to like Sailor Moon and Miyazaki just going like heavy, heavy on that, heavy on the synth. It sticks out like a sore thumb on the album. And a part of me has to respect, like, you caught some flack for Cherry Blossoms, so you're just going for it. You're
Yeah.
just going whole hog. And that is to be commended, despite the fact that it was the only stinker on the album. Not a lost cause in theory, but as the song that it came out as, a stinker. It's the only clunker on the album. The rest of it is beautiful in its brutality.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can bring myself to buy it, but I am going to say buy it.
Well, I think that's fair. We bought it to complete the collection. We also bought the CD. Um,
Of
bought
course.
Marla, the wife of the pod, Marla, the sweatshirt, and it just like Kacey Musgraves, and then on the back it says "My Saturn has returned." It's got this cool little graphic on the sleeves, but it looks like Lord of the Rings because the sweatshirt is this like kind of cream color, and then the writing's all green, and it's in this like script that looks like Lord of the Rings. It's pretty sweet.
Is it the font from the cover of the album?
Yes.
That's a great font.
Yeah.
I've gotten into fonts at work. I work with
Well,
graphic designers. I'm learning a lot about fonts.
I mean, that's one thing I learned is when I found the impact font that I use in my videos. That's my guy.
It's all you need.
That's my one.
It's the only one you need. Sans
Yeah.
serif. There's no adornment on that.
No, sans everything.
It's an unpretentious font, and I respect
Yeah.
it.
Well, did you have any other closing thoughts for this week's episode, Alex?
I guess, like, still to put even more of a button on this album, I know a lot of other people who were planning to not listen to this. I talked to at least 3 people who do not like her music or were like actively planning to skip this. And through me talking enthusiastically about it, they listened. And all of them were like a heap. They were fucking crying by the end of this.
Name names.
Name names.
Yeah. Who was
Girlfriend of the pod was
denying?
one. Girlfriend of the pod said, I hate Kacey Musgraves. I don't like her voice. I don't like her music. But this was really, really beautiful.
That's tough look.
And that's a tough, tough look. And she's a Swiftie. There's a lot
Yeah,
there's a lot wrong here.
yeah. You can fix her. You can do
I can fix her. I can make her love Elvis Costello and Blackberry
it.
Smoke.
Oh, good. Pump the brakes. Yeah, that's slow down. Slow down
I could
on the
get her into
Costello.
Blackberry Smoke.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, slow down on that Costello though.
A man can dream. I guess that's kind of like asking for anal, yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else, until next time.